Hello and welcome back to TV Plus Talk. I am Charlotte Henry from The Edition. He is Chuck Joyner from Mac Voices. How are
Charlotte,
you?
I'm great. It's great to see you as always.
Yeah, I'm pleased we're here. We're pleased we're back. We've got some really meaty stuff to talk about, actually. The truth is, we're going to spend most of the show trying to unpack what the hell is going on in the morning show.
Does that
We'll
mean you're
decide on
happy?
spoilers as we get there.
Yeah,
We'll get there. We'll get there.
yeah, and it's probably fair to say that if I don't know that we are going to, I'm not sure we could do spoilers even if we wanted to. But just in case, if you are concerned about being spoiled, then just pause the show, go watch the first episodes of the morning show, and then come back.
Okay, so I've watched 1 and 2. Have you watched 1, 2, and 3, or 1, 2, 3, and 4?
I actually, in prep for this, I got through 1, 2, 3, and 4.
See, you can see who the pro is on this team. Okay, so I've watched 1 and 2. So there will be spoilers for 1 and 2, episodes 1 and 2. If you haven't watched the first 2 episodes, press pause on this, flip over to TV Plus, watch the first 2 episodes, then come back to us. We'll behave for 3 and 4 just because I haven't seen them. But let's start with a discussion, actually, and it's kind of interesting that we're talking about the morning show that has multiple really big stars in it, and how you found a really interesting article on 9 to 5 Mac, which brought together quotes from some of the major stars that have worked with Apple TV. There's one that really jumped out to me. I want to tell me what you think. It's from Seth Rogen, who was the star of The Studio and Platonic on Apple TV Plus. He said, I was really worried that maybe they, i.e. Apple, would be restrictive. And then there's a scene in Platonic where we snort cocaine and ketamine off an iPhone. They were not as corporate overlordy as maybe I was worried they were going to be. Now, I find this really fascinating, because how many times have I pointed to the example of that story from, it must be 6 or 7 years ago now, of where there was apparently a note going around one of the shoots from Tim Cook saying, does there have to be so much swearing? And then we're looking at the example that Seth Rogen gave there. I find it really interesting that, I don't know if it's the guys at the top of Apple TV Plus. I don't know who it's constructed this, but they've got to a place where they are actually letting people be creative and not being too appley about it and control freaky about it. And I find that really interesting.
Charlotte, I agree. And it feels like, it feels like Apple has grown up a little bit, at least for Apple TV Plus, but also that they have recognized when Tim Cook first came out and announced Apple TV Plus, it was all about the great stories. And we'll come back to that eventually. But I think there were a lot of aspirational things. And in today's world, yes, you can do some of that, but you can't ignore the rest. You can't sanitize things.
What do you mean by completely?
That? What do I mean?
Okay.
Well, what I mean is that, I think originally the vision that I heard, even though it was not spelled out, the vision I took away was that we're not going to do gratuitous violence. We're not going to do gratuitous sex. We're not going to do gratuitous cursing. And
yep. I agree with you. I took exactly the same all those years ago when I first started reporting on this. That was exactly my takeaway.
Yeah, and
yet,
but unfortunately, that's not the world today. And so, if they had continued down that path, and I think they're still telling great stories. And again, we'll get to that. But I think that this is just the world that we live in right now, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it. If you are not including some of that content, it is not seen as real. It's seen as G or PG. And that turns a lot of people off because they feel like it's not realistic.
Yeah, I agree with that. But also, you can have some of that stuff, but without, some of the shows really get at some of the fundamentals of Apple. We both watched Prime Target, for example. And if you think about how that show ends, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but if you think of how that show ends, that is in a way something that Apple really could have objected to, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And yet there we are watching those scenes. There's obviously the example that that Seth Rogen gave, which you used to. I mean, I've heard stories that Apple never. I don't know if it's true or not. I've obsessively watched out for it ever since I heard this, and I'm now about to ruin TV for every single person that's listening to the show. But I always understood it used to be a thing that baddies in TV or films were not allowed to have iPhones. That Apple really had a thing about a baddie using their equipment. And yet again, think of that example that Seth Rogen has given. Think of we'll get to the opening episodes of the morning show, but think of some of the politics that's on display in that. The kind of anti-capitalist kind of stuff that's sort of swirling around there. It's really interesting.
Listen, I agree completely. And as you were talking, I'm thinking about the shows the Apple TV shows that I've watched, the ones that I still need to get to. But the Gorge, the movie The Gorge, was an Apple TV show, or Apple TV movie, excuse me, Apple TV Plus movie. And, that kind of content, when I first got into it, I was quite surprised that was an Apple TV Plus thing. And same thing, I'm not going to do any spoilers, because we've talked a little bit about The Gorge before and how it combines several things that I usually don't find appealing into a package that I thought was a fantastic film. And yet there were components of it that it's like, really? On Apple TV Plus? But it worked.
Yeah. And again, the opening sequence of the morning show where we were like, what on earth is going? I mean, I'm talking 4 or 5 years ago now, that real first. There was all sorts of it was a completely different thing to what we thought it was, and it has got more and more like that. And you know what? Fair play. Right, should we do it? Episodes 1 and 2 of the morning show.
Yeah,
Go on, give me your take first.
Well, this is going to be true even for 3 and 4. That there is so much going on, that this is one of those shows that you have to pay attention to. You can't put it on the background. Certainly. You cannot casually watch it because there are too many different storylines. You're going to not appreciate the storylines if you don't get to know the characters and some of their backstories. And so I would encourage anyone, if you're interested in the morning show, you really need to start with season 1, because if you don't jump into season 4. You don't, and you'll lose
returning characters and all sorts of things.
Yeah, exactly. And the traumas that have come in the first couple seasons, and now, they're, I don't want to say they're coming back, but there are reasons that the characters now are doing things. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So, episode 1, I watched this and I was like, this is actually insane. Like, what is happening here? There's about 7 different storylines.
Exactly.
And then I took a step back and I was like, well, to some extent, that is kind of like what working in news is like. There's not just one thing happening in the world. People in newsrooms, particularly big newsrooms, which is what is meant to be happening, are keeping up with lots of different stories. So I kind of forgave that and got over that. I mean, there are stories beyond what's happening in the newsroom. Obviously, there's all sorts of off-studio, off-air storylines going on as well. So it is quite a hectic show. But some of it I am forgiving, I've decided. I was about to get quite irritated during episode 2, because I was just like, this is all a bit much. And then I thought the ending that brought a lot of it together, that cliffhanger at the end of episode 2, was really, really good. Like, it really locked me in.
I'm glad to hear it, because I feel like that's sort of something the morning show does well. They create storylines, like, call them mini storylines, and then sort of wrap them up. It's not like so. What ends up happening is it's a very fast-paced show, which goes back to my comment before about you have to pay attention, or you're going to wonder
Oh no,
why
what
something never got wrapped
the
up. It
hell is
really
going
did.
on? Yeah.
Yeah, it really did get wrapped up. Just maybe not as at the same pace that we're used to seeing a lot of shows do. And so I have to say I'm thoroughly enjoying it, even though it's a little confusing, and even though it is highlighting some really questionable personal choices by just about all the characters.
You're not into sort of having affairs with your boss's husband, then? It's not your vibe.
Yeah, that seems to be counterproductive. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not good for productivity. No, you're
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't know where to start. I want to sort of unpack some of the power dynamics, but I have to make a confession, and I make this confession as a millennial woman. So this is basically blasphemous what I'm about to say. I think Jennifer Aniston is the problem in this show.
Problem as in,
As in, I'm not sure she's that good when she's being serious.
that's interesting because have accepted the character for what she is. And I mean,
I think
sorry.
there's too much like breathy swearing and oh my godding and a bit like panic attacking. And it's a bit much. And I think she might be the problem because a lot of the better scenes are the ones when she's not in it. So Reese Witherspoon, when she comes back, we don't really see her for episode 1, do we? But she comes back in episode 2 quite significantly. And like when she's at the center of the scenes, I think that's really good. I think some of the running around by Jennifer Aniston is all a bit much.
Charlotte, I guess I've known
And
people like
it
that.
pains me to say this.
Well, but I'm not sure that's her as opposed to the character, because the character is a little bit, a little bit entitled, a little bit spoiled, also emotionally confused or conflicted. And so, and I've known people like this that, that's kind of the way they live their lives, that everything seems to be, they don't seem to be able to accept what's happening. And so everything turns into a drama.
So I think you're definitely right that is what's happening with the character. I'm not 100% sure she's pulling it off as she could, but you're certainly right that is something that is going on. 100%. Can we talk about how good Greta Lee is?
Sure.
As Stella Back. She's fantastic. I think she's being absolutely brilliant. And can we talk about Billy Crudup and his mighty return from Disaster, which is just so clever.
His character is so intense, so conniving, so self-oriented.
So much.
It's sort of the character you love to hate or hate to love. I'm not sure which at any given moment.
Yeah, totally. I just think so. I think the way Greta Lee is sort of the center of the universe, along with the Celine character, is really, really clever. And I think the way, from the affair with the husband to, all of that stuff, I think is quite clever how she is operating, and her performance, I think, is really, really good.
Just the writing, I think, on the show has so far for this season is better than at least one of the other seasons. And maybe it's because of the complexity of the storyline that I'm appreciating it.
I hadn't thought about it, but you're probably right. You're probably right about that. So it's going to be interesting now how the dynamic between Stella and Corey plays out, because obviously Corey in episode 2 has found out about the affair and all of that kind of thing. And this is what I'm talking about, like the way they link everything together. You're watching this show and it's utterly chaotic, and then 2 or 3 things come together that kind of make it fit.
No, I think I can't use that example because that's farther down the road, and I don't want to even take a chance of spoiling it for you. But no, I agree. I'm thinking back to the pandemic season when it seemed like somebody said, "Oh, we have to do a pandemic series or show or season, and
Yeah.
that sort of dictated the guardrails. And then we had for lack of a better term, I'll call it the Elon Musk episode or season, where again there are guardrails in place, and some of those, frankly, they went off the rails. This feels like it's really back to grounded, back to being what the morning show the first season was. And yeah, I'm fighting because there are other things. Yeah, there are other things I want to say.
It's certainly much more. We'll come back to the show, but this is certainly based much more around the newsroom, which I think does improve the show. But we did get within the first 20 minutes. I think, what did we have? We had the Olympics, we had AI, we had. I think there was some kind of we cut to Corrie in LA and some kind of environmental issue. Like, they're packing a lot in, every kind of political touchstone they're throwing into the mix, which does make it quite hard to keep up with. But they're getting better at tying it all together. We haven't talked about the main storyline from the first couple of episodes, which is the defection of an Iranian fencer whose father also happens to be a nuclear scientist, and who also is helped by Alex Levy / Jennifer Aniston to make their escape and defection. Sure, let's throw Iran in there as well. Sure.
Yeah, but again, that storyline, that's one of many storylines, and some of them
certainly is.
Yes, well, some of them go on longer, and some of them get resolved maybe almost within one episode. But it really keeps you. I'm afraid if I say off balance, that could be off-putting to some people. But it just makes you pay
on your
attention.
Toes.
Yeah, on your toes. Better phrase. Yes, and I'm loving it because it's not the same old thing. It's a fast-paced. It's complex without being overly complex. One other thing I'm really appreciating about it, and it only continues into 3 and 4, and I think it's borderline been throughout the series, are the politics involved in corporate America, and just how ruthless some people can be to get what they want or to try to accomplish their vision.
Totally. I mean, that's totally right. I like the way they bring returning characters back. So obviously, as it goes on, I think we're going to have, don't say anything, Claire Conway return, who was an assistant earlier on. And it looks like she's going to be the source for a major story. They didn't just throw Reese Witherspoon away. They obviously brought back Bradley Jackson and found a premise to do that. The same with Charlie Black, played by Mark Duplass. They find ways to bring these central characters back, even if they're not quite part of the team anymore at this new network, UBN. So yeah, I do agree with you on all of that. And I like the returning characters.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, that also makes it more believable, because that's sort of the way that all our lives are. People move in and out of our lives, our daily lives or semi-daily lives, and then they come back in. And so, it makes the relationships potentially a lot more complex and therefore more interesting.
Certainly. I mean, I'm trying not to tempt fate by saying, I don't know if we're going to see Juliana Margulies' character come back. I believe John Hamm returns during the season. That's not a particular spoiler to anything. I think that is just what we know happens. So it is very interesting how all that but there's also a core, like that studio team, they've kept a core of that, which I rather like.
Yes, I agree. And again, that's sort of like your daily life, and I would speculate that that's the way it is in a newsroom or morning show situation, where there's a core. Yes, sometimes people are going to leave that core, but for the most part, they're there, and it creates a little bit of an anchor. And yet the tendrils of the craziness and everything still reach into that core.
There's certainly lots of tendrils and lots of craziness going on. Now, without explaining why, do you think this season gets better as it goes on? As I say, by the time I got to the end of episode 2, I was like, okay, this is good now. They might have got it. Does it continue to get better?
I think it either stays at least as good or gets better so far.
Okay.
I have not gotten bored with it. It has not jumped the rails like one of the earlier seasons does. It feels like everything, no matter how weird, complex, or out of left field the developments happen, it's like, yeah, that is fairly realistic, especially in relation to what the characters have already shown themselves to be.
Yeah, and I think it is worth reiterating how if you're at the top of one of these big newsrooms, life probably can be completely mad and chaotic. So it doesn't matter that a show is like that. Like, that's okay. I was interested by the editorial choice to center at least the beginning of the season around the Olympics. I thought that was a really interesting choice. Just because it completely surprised me. That's the reality of it. I was completely taken aback when that was the sort of way it played out.
You mean because of the Olympics being the stage, or because of what happened because of the Olympics?
Just that they picked the idea that an American TV show where, look, as I understand, the Olympics is not quite as big for you as it is for us here in the UK and other European countries. That was sort of the hook they started with. I found it really interesting. I enjoyed it, but I found that a really interesting, a kind of creative decision. It wasn't what I expected at all.
So I don't want to take us off down another path, but that's a really interesting statement that it's bigger for you as a European than it is for me as an American. Because the way I see it, and this felt like it was true to the morning show, that the Olympics, there's a huge hype cycle coming up to it. There is then, the Olympics themselves, which has morphed in so many ways because now of so many different options for coverage that you aren't just looking at, a major network carrying all the Olympic content they can carry. Now it's delivered. I mean, sports that never saw the light of day are now getting major coverage. Then there's the post-Olympic thing that lasts maybe a week or two, depending on how well, at least here, the U.S. performs. And I'm looking at this through the news cycle, and then it's gone. And then you don't hear about the Olympics until the promo starts for the next Olympics, whether it's winter or summer. So that sort of resonated with me. It's like, okay, this is really hot now, and they had a storyline related to it, and then we're moving on.
Yeah, I would say the moving on doesn't quite happen in the same way here, not least because we put quite a lot of attention and into the Paralympics, which comes just afterwards. I would say, so if you look at viewing figures for the Olympics in America versus other major sports things, the Olympics is not as high. Peacock this year did really, really well from the Olympics in 2024, sorry. And I kind of get the impression UBN is meant to be. Is it meant to be NBC? I sort of feel it is.
Well, I would agree with that assessment, if for no other reason than just the huge drama over Matt Lauer right about the time that the morning show was conceived. So
Mitch Kessler is meant to be Matt Lauer, isn't he?
Right. And also the whole discussion over streaming and that storyline earlier in the seasons, not this season, but earlier, sort of mirrored the whole, NBC Peacock thing. So
exactly. So that's kind of what I take from it.
Yeah, you have to draw parallels. It's unavoidable.
So all of that I found really interesting. As I say, I was just surprised that an American-written, American-focused show picked up as their starting point the 2024 Olympics. I like it. I was enjoying it. It's quite clever. It's worked because of the various offshoots it's allowed. It just struck me as surprising. I thought it was going to be, once again, kind of political anyway, it was interesting to me.
Well, Charlotte, do you think that's, we've talked about this a little bit before, about sort of the more international flavor of a lot of Apple TV Plus shows. Slow Horses is set in London.
London, yeah.
And of course, Well, there's so many. I'm not going to go through them all, but there are other shows that
Prime
are set.
Target in Cambridge.
Prime Target in Cambridge. The Chief of War is set, in Polynesia. You think about all of that. It feels like that somebody somewhere is maybe not directing the flow of shows, but they're acknowledging that these have more of a potentially global audience than a lot of the other networks or streaming services.
Yeah, maybe it's just the morning show particularly strikes me as a very American show, and as I say, I was I was quite surprised. I can see why they've done it because it allows offshoots for all different kind of things. So fair play.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's where we are with that.
I just want to ask one quick thing because you have morning shows in the UK, don't you?
Not, yeah, but it's just not the same.
Okay.
Is you in the same way that it's not quite the same because we just literally don't have late night TV in the way you do. There are breakfast shows across, the BBC, ITV, Sky News. Those things absolutely exist. I don't think they're quite the same as and have the same cultural significance as they do in America. I might be wrong because I don't particularly watch them, but I don't think it's quite the same.
Okay. Thank you.
The last thing I wanted to pick up on was the sort of broy streamer podcaster that we see within UBN or their thing UBN Plus. I mean, I guess they had to throw it in there. It was fairly obvious. Like, the character is not a particularly original character, but I guess they had to have someone like that in there, right?
For the world today, it felt perfect. And I sure want to. Yeah, I don't want to beat on any fellow podcasters out there, no matter what I think of their content. But there are aspects to that character that just feel so true to life for some of the maybe, to my way of thinking, less desirable podcasters that are just there to inflame and not really to deliver information. So, yeah, it almost made me laugh. It made me cringe. But you can definitely relate to that's the thing about the morning show. Sometimes they're timely, sometimes they're not, but they seem to be trying to reflect the culture that's going on around us.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel that a bit obvious, but maybe I'm wrong and maybe that is what's needed. Sometimes I'm just a bit like, oh, now you're doing the Bray podcaster. Oh, now you're doing climate change. Okay, now we're doing AI. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just sort of feel, oh, tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, but I mean, that's okay as long as they present it in a fashion that is entertaining and well done. Fine. I mean,
look, now we're live streaming because the world's changed. Like, maybe I'm too cynical. Maybe I spend too much time thinking and reading and writing about media to not be cynical.
I don't know that you're cynical. You might be a little jaded because of it, because it's so much.
All that.
Yeah, well, but it's so much of your life and the way you look at things. I'm no better because I look at tech through an Apple lens, and so and I fortunately I recognize that, and I try not to be the Apple fanboy any more than I feel like I really need to be. And you are very much a media reporter, and that's the way you see the world, and so your judgments are going to be I think maybe a bit harsher, but probably a little more accurate than the rest of us.
Maybe. I just guess I spent, if I listen to 7 podcasts a week talking about the effects of AI on the media and then see it on the media show, I'm just like, oh, this is obvious. But probably normal people watching it are not feeling that in quite the same way. Do you know what we can talk about now to chill out a bit? And I love this.
Okay. I think I know what's coming.
You know what's coming. Yeah, you do. We're talking about peanuts, Chuck. Snoopy and Charlie Brown are going to stay on Apple until 2030. I'm happy about this. I was a fan of Snoopy in space. I like watching the specials over the holidays because they were never really a thing here. And now I get to watch them. I'm here for it.
I absolutely agree with everything you just said. I also think it's a brilliant business move on the part of Apple because it guarantees, if you really just get down to cold, hard business, it guarantees that there are going to be people, a small segment, but there are going to be people that just absolutely hang on to Apple TV just for peanuts. And I think that's phenomenal. And that is in no way dismissing peanuts or dismissing that set of the audience. But it's definitely a feel-good component to Apple TV Plus.
Totally. They do make the specials free. You don't need a TV Plus subscription at certain times of the year because there was such a backlash that they would because what were they on? They were on PBS or something, weren't they, in the US?
CBS, I believe.
So they used to be free to air, basically, didn't they?
Right.
And people got very upset at the idea this would no longer be the case. So from October the 18th and 19th, you can stream the Halloween special for free. November the 15th and 16th, you can stream the Thanksgiving special for free. And December 13th, 14th, you can obviously stream the Christmas special for free, which I think is lovely. I'll be watching them nearer to the appropriate dates. Wait, which day is Thanksgiving?
Oh, shoot, I don't know without a calendar in front of me.
Chuck, you've got to get the turkey in. Okay,
I'll be watching Thursday. It's on a Thursday.
It's on a Thursday. So we will, on that given Thursday, I will be enjoying the Thanksgiving special of Snoopy. I will, at some point in the Christmas period, enjoy the Christmas special. I did it last year and it was most enjoyable. The Halloween one is great fun as well, isn't it? You know, fair play. But I guess I need to be a bit, apart from discussing my love for Snoopy and Charlie Brown, I should probably pick up on your more serious point about the business sense of it. Because you just have to be right. First of all, Apple doesn't sign extensions to multi-year deals unless it's making money from it some way. Doesn't happen. Secondly, therefore, people are obviously locked in to Apple TV Plus to some extent because they enjoy having access to both the classics Peanuts films and the new characters that are developing. The interesting thing, and we've talked about this before, but it always bears repeating, is that this is basically the only non-original IP that is part of Apple TV Plus. And it has just stayed there basically from the start. And that's really interesting to me.
Charlotte, I'm not sure if anyone else had picked up this property, if they have the same options to deliver the streaming content outside of the paid model. And this may be my ignorance because I've never really thought about it. But does Netflix I guess Peacock would be NBC. But does Netflix have the option if they had, let's say they had picked it up, to say, okay, for 2 days we're going to make Peanuts or one of the holiday specials free? I don't think so.
As far as I'm aware, they have never done that. I don't know if that means technically they couldn't.
I would think it would just be a challenge. But I wanted to point out.
But for example, in the sports space, DAZN, DAZN does show quite a lot for free, so long as you've just entered your email address. So, for example, a lot of the women's football that they have, you can watch for free on DAZN. You just have to have an account. So other streamers can deliver in that way. I've never known something like Netflix. I don't have Prime Video, does it? I've never known other places to do that, but that doesn't mean, again, as I say, they couldn't. But it's a good question.
Yeah. And I guess I look at it as such, just one more thing to bring in to Apple TV Plus to add value for, let's just say, the entire family. Because they have kids shows, they have genre shows, they have mystery shows, they have the more sensitive, socially conscious shows without being gratuitous about it. Again, do you really need 500,000 selections when you have some really great quality shows that you want to go through?
Yeah, I mean, this is the age-old question. We've asked it, I think, every episode of this show. And until we ever get viewing figures, we won't really know. Anecdotally, I often think people don't realise there's lots of stuff on TV Plus. Over the 6 years or whatever it's been around, I've not noticed that change. We will see. But yes, lots of Snoopy. I guess also just to your business point, part of what they want is you to sit down, watch the specials, be like, oh, Snoopy's fun. Let's watch Snoopy. Let's buy a TV Plus subscription so we can watch Snoopy in space. I guess that's also part of the plan, right?
I would think so. I mean, it seems very obvious. And the other thing, that the reason I ask about Netflix's ability to do something like that, I love the fact that they aren't making it like it was on broadcast TV, where, you know, Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, you had to sit down and watch it if you wanted to see it. They're not only making it on demand, but they're making it on demand for a couple days, so that if you're on a plane traveling to grandma's house, you still have the second day to watch it. So
for free, you can watch it at any point.
Right.
Because you can watch it now.
Yes, but for free.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Yeah. So
when I fly over to you for Thanksgiving, because you're going to make me a turkey, I can watch Snoopy for free on the flight to you.
Right. And again, it's so well thought out. It's from a business standpoint as well as just a making our customers happy standpoint, and protecting themselves from being attacked the way they originally were when they acquired the Peanuts IP.
It was hilarious, but it was actually a thing.
Yeah. People feel strongly about this stuff.
Well, people feel strongly about Snoopy, and I understand. So yeah, if you look in, I'm just looking now, you know, the Peanuts classics are all there. Charlie Brown's All-Star, you know, the classic episodes are all there. Plus the specials, etc., etc. Like, I don't think we spent much longer on this than I thought we would, but I don't think branding yourself as the home of Snoopy is a bad branding move, frankly. Like, it's kind of nice.
Agreed. Very, very warm, very approachable, very family oriented. You know, in conjunction.
Yeah, you think of Disney Plus.
Yeah, well, and in conjunction with the whole concept of telling great stories. These were stories that were great when they were created. They continue to be great into the 21st century, and Apple and the audiences are recognizing that.
Certainly that, but also, you know, when you think of Disney Plus, first thing you think of is Mickey Mouse. Do you know what I mean? And like, Apple has sort of got that, or could, if it ever marketed TV Plus well, could do that with Snoopy and Charlie Brown. Anyway, it's a nice, happy thoughts to leave it. We should probably go and watch the Halloween special now, shouldn't we, really?
That sounds great to me. I like it.
Love it. Right, where can people keep up with you once you've stopped doing that?
You can find me at macvoices.com. We have a lot of great tech talk over there, reviewing the news, reviewing products, hopefully making you think a little bit about the tech as opposed to just knee-jerk reacting to it. And on all the socials, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner.
Did I tell you about my new Apple toy?
No.
I've got some lovely AirPods Pro 3.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean this sincerely. They're the best. And I said this on my podcast with Kelly Gamont the other day. They're the best audio product Apple has ever made. No question.
Wow. Okay, I've still got the two.
They're fantastic.
You see, she's trying to help me spend money.
Sorry,
that's what's happening here.
Sorry. Actually, I don't know if the jump from 2 to 3 is that significant. The jump from 1 to 3 is very significant.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. If that's your comparison, absolutely. Yeah,
jump from 1 to 2. I'm at theedition.net and at Charlotte A. Henry across most of social media. You can check out there and subscribe to the newsletter. And you can now buy my latest book, Streaming Wars. It's out wherever you get books. It's out in the UK and I think lots of European countries at the moment. American friends, you're going to have to wait till the 28th of October to get your hands on it. But please pre-order. It'd be lovely if you pre-ordered it. It makes a huge difference. So yeah, that's Streaming Wars, which is out now. Chuck, it's always a pleasure to talk TV with you. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching.